Welcome back to the Profit School by Measure You podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about AI bots. I'm going to reveal some bots that we've built over at Profit School that you can get for free inside of your free community account. And have a little discussion here with Mercer about our idea behind building bots, where we're going, where we've been so far, our experimentations, some of the failures we've had, some of the things that are working. But we basically have these 3 working bots that people are using, mind you, inside of our community. I'm going to show you that. I'm going to show you how we get analytics, how we improve them. So if you've ever thought about building a bot, this might be the simplest way to do it. And so we're just going to show you how to do that. So you might, we'll talk more about bots as we go along, what they mean. But ultimately, a bot is, to me, a single purpose communication method where you get consistent results from AI. And what I mean by that is like a chat window where you say, hey, I want to talk to you about improving my offer, as opposed to general chat GPT where you're just saying, hey, anything you want, you can talk to me about. So these are very specific guided coaches that will help you get to the answers you're looking for faster. Should give you better and more consistent results. We'll look at some analytics behind that to see if we're actually delivering on that promise. But it's specialized knowledge that you can use over and over again. So if you don't know what a bot is before going into this thing, you are absolutely going to understand what we mean by bots by the end of this. And so I could talk all I want to, but I want to show you the bots that are in the wild and then see where that leads us into the questions that we have. Mercer's going to be... I don't know if you've seen these or not. I think you know that
I'm like everybody else. I'm just like, share the screens, man. Show me what's going on. Let's do this.
And Mercer built one of these bots, but then I sort of I did what I thought I needed to do to make it a little bit more production ready. And meaning that it's like an actual coach, right? So you can see this is the AI version of Mercer and our Clarity coach. And so inside of our Profit School community, we have 3 bots that you can see. We have free AI coaching bots. We have one called Offer Oracle, one called Pricing Pilot, and one called Clarity Coach. Okay, and that's where you go. Now, I'm just going to show you how this works. So you click on Clarity Coach, and you say, I want to chat with Clarity Coach. And this is available to any one of you. You can go in there and do it today if you want to. And then you just start a new conversation with them. And then it helps you get clarity in what you need, what answers do you need, right? So I'm overwhelmed and I don't know what to focus on first. Can you help me prioritize? That's something that I use it for. I have too many ideas. How do I choose the right one? Something isn't working in my business and I can't figure out why. I'm procrastinating on important tasks. Can you walk me through why? And how can I clarify my offer before I ask the Offer Oracle for help? That's another one where it's like, hey, I want an offer so then I can go talk to the Offer Oracle. Okay, so let's just go with, I have too many ideas. How do I choose the right one? And we're going to start a conversation here. Okay.
And so what you're showing is kind of like, here's the finished product. Here's how we used it. And then we can go into kind of how.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Idea? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Here's the use case of how you'd use this. Okay. So it sounds like you're being overwhelmed with options. Let's tackle this together. And so most of the time, this bot's going to help us do 3 things. What's the root of the problem? What's the outcome that you want? And then how do you take one action right away? And so this is probably our most laser focused bot, because it's basically like helping you solve that problem, giving you clarity by turning it back to you outward and saying, okay, well, you're having this problem. Give me some more information and I can help you find the root of the problem, which is often what a coach does, right? They listen to you and then they sort of find the pattern of what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, or the things that are constraints that maybe aren't constraints, and help you do something to move forward. This is almost like Atomic Habits. This is almost like a James Clear bot or something like that. When you built this, Mercer, did you have that in mind? Or I know you iterated on this a ton of times. How did you end up with this?
The intention behind this is about focus and state, right? Because most of the time when we've got a challenge, at least in my personal experience, it's just because I'm looking at a challenge and I'm not looking at the solution for the challenge, if that makes sense, right? So I'm very aware of the challenge. I am not aware of the solution for the challenge, but it's typically right in front of me. I just don't see it or perceive it. And so the idea of the Clarity Coach was to say, okay, let's focus where we're looking. Like, where's your attention? Let's focus where you are. Cool. Let's see if what you're talking about is a symptom and not the actual problem first, right? So let's dictate the problem, see if we can get to the source of it. Because a lot of times what we're aware of is a symptom. Yeah. Then it's, okay, where are we actually trying to get to? And this is just Profit School training. When you're trying to solve problems, any problem you have, a true problem always has a solution. And here's the bitch of it. Any solution has a problem, right? So they always come together. And it's which ones are we paying attention to? So with this Clarity Coach, the idea is, okay, let's get to the real problem. Now you see the solution, the thing you're trying to get to. Now, by default, you're going to see a path. and at least the first step to that path. So let's go start taking action. And that's the whole idea. It's just kind of working with focus there.
I love that. Okay, so I'm just going to say something in here. So my challenge is that I'm working on marketing. I'm working on getting products ready so we can market them. And then I'm in meetings all the time. So I'm trying to be in fewer meetings because I don't feel like I'm always as productive as I want to be. And so that's what I'm dealing with right now. This may or may not be a real problem. I'm just trying to get something in there, right? So I did this with voice. I'm using Mac Whisper, $59 product where you can turn any text, any like input box into voice. There's one called Voice Weave for Mac that you can do as well, or for Windows. So just so you know, that's one of the little tools that we've recommended on our tool of the day. And I do use it pretty much all the time. Okay, so step one, what's the root cause? It seems like you're juggling multiple responsibilities, stretched too thin. Would you say the core issue is about managing your time effectively, or is it more about prioritizing or something else? And so I could type it in. So so I'm just going to do this for speed more than anything. See, it's already saying, okay, thanks for clarifying. Let's do step two. What's a clear outcome? And I'm actually going to talk this one. I think the outcome that I'm looking for is that our marketing does itself without having to do a lot of effort. So I want to be able to hand over marketing and have it get done, whether it's to AI or to team members. I think if we had a better process, I wouldn't be doing as much manual stuff. And if we had a better plan and we could show that plan to everybody, it would be more clear so people would know where they can step in. Which again, these may or may not be real problems, and we may or may not have solved these problems or be in the process of solving it right now, but I'm just trying to give an example. Okay, so identify the concrete action you can take right now. I think one thing that I can do is probably document the process. Every time I put something out there, create a video showing it, and then delegate to the team to say, hey, let's build a process around this versus taking it on myself and not really having it so that anybody else is coming in. Now, I'm curious, Mercer, what if you don't know what action you can take? Like, how would you have them tell you how to make that action? What if you don't know that? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. I would just say it's ask it.
Yeah.
Ask it. Just like, I have no idea. I do that all the time with mine where I'm like, I have no idea. What do you think? Like, and it's going to try to get you to do the work, right? Because that's what it's trying to do. But I'm always like, I don't know. Like, I'm frustrated. I'm just trying to figure this thing out. I'm just trying to go forward. What do you think I should be able to do? Here's the situation. I also think it's a huge pro tip that you're talking to it, because when you talk, you just give more detail. Mm-hmm. I also find it useful to write, but it's a lot slower, and you're editing yourself as you do it. But the only other tip I would give is with all of these bots is just speaking in terms of results. So because sometimes if you tell it how to do the thing that you want it to do back to you, it's going to do it, but that's not really what you wanted. It's just what you thought you wanted, not what you needed, you know? Mm-hmm. So I try to say, like, you know, here, I'm just trying to experience this. How do I get there? I have no idea. You know? Yeah.
It's funny because these are the three things that I'm doing already. Is setting up a team workshop. We're creating marketing calendar, which you've helped me with, and then assigning roles and responsibilities. Those are things that we've set them before, but we haven't reset them. So I think it's really just a reset almost, or just saying, here's where we are now.
That is cool, because you and I literally were talking about this roles and responsibilities things yesterday.
Yeah.
On a little call that we did, a little touch call. So it was great.
We'll and tomorrow. Yeah, and again, AI is this stuff is about blind spots. Like you already might know what you need to do, but you don't. It's not small enough steps, and you might not be doing it. And some of the stuff is obvious, but did you do it lately? Did you do it in the last month? Did you do it in the last 6 weeks, or did you do it 10 years ago?
Yeah, and I think that's a huge point with stuff in AI in general. It's not about knowing what to do. It's about, did you do it? Are you actually taking the action? And if not, just get AI to help out, because we'll do that. Yep.
I'm going to do one more, which is I'm just going to go look at this one. So how much should I charge? Okay, well, like this is what I did this chat earlier. Well, to provide a tailored service, how much you charge? I need more information. What is your service? Whatever. So I just started talking about it, right? A Google Analytics 4 audit. And it's like, based on your information, here's some recommendations for pricing. You got to understand their needs, position your agency, pricing, blah, blah, blah. But can you actually help me figure out what the line items are for that thing? Okay, here's how you justify it. You need the initial consultation. That should be $1,000. Data collection, $2,000. Configuration, $2,500. Data analysis, $2,500. Reporting, $1,500. Follow-up, $500. And that's how you break down what the prices are. if that makes sense. Like that's how you know that this is worth 10,000 and that it's profitable. Now this is all fed through things that are from the materials that we've created. I'll show you how this arrived at this answer, but I'm really comfortable with this answer because it's basically using the same way that we break down things into smaller chunks. Now I did have to ask it for that. So maybe that's something I can train in the instructions, Mercer, is to say, yeah, actually, I need you to break it down every time. Right. So this is something we can improve upon. When suggesting something, I always want you to break it down by line item.
Something that sort of justifies why, right?
Yep.
Like explains why this value is really this value. That makes sense.
Yep. Always justify the pricing. Always explain deeply why you justify the pricing. If that makes sense. So, but this is already nice because it's like your agency. It already tells it. We know this is for agencies. We've built these things so that it already knows that you're an agency.
Yep.
And so this is now we talked about this. These are cool. Now you're probably like, okay, well, one, should I use this thing? Two, are other people using it? And then why would I use this one that ProfitSchool has built versus build it on my own? And there's some stuff that you can't compete with us on, to be completely honest, that you won't be able to do. And there's some stuff that you might be able to do on your own. But I want to show you how these things are made, how the sausage is made, and give you a little bit more details. So this is a behind the scenes thing. We built these in Circle, which is our platform that we use for all of our courses. And we use, everything is
all the
community.
Yep.
Live stuff happens there. So everything's happening there. We have a very comprehensive community. If you join the free community, you do get these spaces. You get access to those. So I would check out that if you haven't done it yet. I don't know why, but get in there, right? Now, in the AI agents, I've made them free. They are free for the community for as long as we want it. And you can see now things are happening. So we just enabled these things not even 48 hours ago. These are brand new. And I was looking at the analytics, and these are unique conversations. So we've had basically 40 people are using these things already, which is really pretty good. A decent percentage of our community is using these things. We just let them know about it. We didn't even announce it. I just added them to the space and then sent an email, and people are in here using it, which is really, really cool. Some people were using it on our AI First Challenge. More people are just using it in general, and they're having genuine conversations. And we can, and I'm not going to show private conversations, but we can look at what the people are talking about and improve these things and make them better. Okay. And everything. So let's just show how one of these things is built. I'm going to go back to Clarity Coach, since that's one that we have in common that we've worked on together, and just show people how this was built. Okay. So I'm going to edit this thing, and honestly, I'm not going to give you too much details about how to build a bot. If you want that, you can look at our Battle the Bots workshop, buy the recordings to that. You can just stick around to this channel because we're going to be doing more content on this thing. I want to specifically talk about the Clarity Coach, right? So not about bots in general, but about Clarity Coach. So a few things. You can always give it a welcome message, which is what you do. Guess how I developed this? I took what Mercer had, and then I ran it through AI, and I said, can you add more descriptions to this thing? So that's what, I said, here's what Clarity Coach is doing. Give us a description that fits into the parameters. The bio, same thing. AI improved that thing. Suggested questions. I used AI to do that. Now, you might be like, why would you use AI to do all these things? Well, I had it suggest items based on how I described what Clarity Coach should be. And then it filled in the gaps. And then I reviewed it and I said, okay, yeah, I like that. I don't like that. So these things, I didn't just take it as like, it's perfect. I took it as suggestions so that I didn't have to go and create this stuff from scratch. And that takes it from this thing getting produced and being out there versus me waiting till next week when I had 2 hours to perfect this thing.
Yeah.
Right. We call it a beta because it is a beta. We don't expect it to be perfect, but we need it in the market. We need those 14 or 15 people using it, telling us that they found it useful or didn't, or that it gave them an answer to something. Otherwise, we'll never know. Like, this is why it's a beta. We started with a beta of about 80 people. Then we expanded it to the entire community. Once we learned, and once we didn't get any complaints or get any breaking, then we went that way. Okay, so this is the starting point of it. And I actually used AI to create this image too. And then next one is who gets it. So our entire audience gets it. You don't really need to see that. The next one is the instructions. So this is a limitation of Circles. You can only do 1,500 characters. Other platforms have more, and we can. Well, I don't want to get too much into the weeds there, but we want more. We want more characters is what we want. But this doesn't quite do it. So this is one of the limitations of Circle. This is why some of our premium bots that are really tapping into our brains may or may not be using Circle. They might be on a different platform.
Well, they'll be on Circle. They'll just be using. I mean, I don't think we need to hint around that. You can't do it in Circle, so you have to do it as a Circle post, custom guide it. But it'll be delivered in the Circle platform. Not someplace else. It's just that you have to use APIs and automations and everything else.
It'll not be native Circle.
Exactly.
Is that a better way to put it?
Yeah, exactly right.
So then your role, you're a rapid results coach. Purpose is to guide the user through their pain. So here's the start here part, and this is the instruction that we gave. Is like, here's the 3 things we want to figure out. Find the real root of the problem, define clear outcome, identify one concrete action, the process. So you got to find the root cause. Here's how you do that. Step 2, define the outcome. Here's how you do that. Step 3, define the action. Here's how you do that. And then here's the guiding principles. Now you notice we only have 130 characters left, and this is not War and Peace. This is pretty simple. I don't want to put you in the spot, but you created this first in Google Gemini as a gem for yourself, right? Does that have infinite instructions or what?
No, but yes. From a practical standpoint, there isn't like you can only do 3,000 characters. I have like my actual coach, the one that I use, is 25 pages of instructions. You know what I mean? So it's like, and that's where I was taking it, like, okay, we got to take these 25 pages of instructions and we just need to get to the root of what this thing can do. And that's why we focused on clarity, because that's what I did. Is I took it and said, okay, we got to keep going, less, to keep it focused, and then at the end of the day, there's instructions and then there's knowledge. Right? Yeah. So that's kind of the beauty of the bot system here. But with instructions with gems, I haven't seen any meaningful limit.
Yeah. So Mercer's his instructions for the coach that he built that he's been using every day is 12 to 15 times more text than this that is allowed. Yeah. And that's just, and then the other thing is, I'm guessing that you took yours and you had AI carve out, like, can you just carve out the clarity part?
I will never, ever prompt ever. Yep. It's always AI, always.
Exactly.
Like, everything's AI first, right? What's the point? It's like, why would I try to step in front of AI and do AI's job for it?
So you said carve this out and simplify your instructions to fit into this character limit, which is ultimately that's part of, there's a few things. That's why they're a free bot, because it's just scratching the surface as to what you can do. The ones the premium ones where we're giving you 25 pages of instructions, that's the ones that we charge for. But this is actually really, it's there. You can use this anytime to prioritize. This can be a daily habit of yours for this part. And then inside of our pro group and inside of what we're building, we're going to have more for you. Other things, like if somebody hits a snag, we can say where they go, and then it's going to send an email to you and me when it breaks. So we know that. You can pause certain keywords.
And this is important just from a Circle's perspective for those that are thinking maybe about using Circle. Because if there's a challenge, you don't want a frustrated customer, right? So you can put these words in there, like, I just need help, I want to talk to a human, and that's why those keywords are in there. And then, like I said, that's why we can see the chats, because there's going to be times where you need to see the chat. They can't all be private chats, right? So, and especially when you're using tools like this with other platforms, just know that, like, your chats are going to be available to people, because it's, they kind of have to be for quality control.
Yep. And then if you look at this, so you can choose the tone of the agent, and then we have the stop words. And then the final thing on here is the knowledge, which we actually aren't using specific knowledge on this one, which is fine.
If you go to custom.
Okay.
Yep.
We didn't have any in there.
It was added in there, so I don't know what happened to that. But
okay.
That's great that the clarity bot's working that well. Wait till I add back that knowledge.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to the knowledge, but I didn't see it hasn't been in there. So so I don't know if it's one of these things.
AI guidance manual right there. That's the knowledge.
All right. Well, we'll drop that in there and make some improvements on it. Okay. Yep. So I was wondering, because I hadn't seen that in there, and I was like, okay, that's.
And this is where the real meat of the how it thinks and processes stuff is.
Yep.
So even better. But honestly, you can see just the beauty of AI is that anything can get you unstuck. A set little tiny amount of instructions like that can still get you up and running, and that's half the battle with this. Is we get stuck in our own heads thinking about stuff too much, when you can just go to a quick little, okay, I'm just trying to, and just, like you said, talk it out very quickly in a couple of minutes. You're like, okay, cool, that makes sense, I'll go.
Yep.
Yeah. So, which is awesome.
So we've just changed this bot, and now it has all the knowledge that we have. It's importing it in there, as you can see. So that's pretty cool. This is another reason why we wanted them to be native, because then we don't have to distribute it. It's already in there.
Just hit save.
The next chat, it automatically has all this knowledge in there.
Real quick, just to make sure that's saved.
Yep.
Because that is a challenge sometimes. It's kind of like it's saved, and it doesn't quite say saved. That's probably what happened. It was in there, but not.
Yeah. So now that one's been improved. Now let's look at some of the more complex ones. And maybe this one doesn't have as many conversations or messages because it's just so guided on those instructions. It was only using the instructions. So I'm glad we caught that very early. This is why we call it a beta. Like I'm not mad about anything. Hopefully you're not too upset, but yeah, there's just the instructions weren't in there when I published it. And I just assumed that was strategic, or that was just the knowledge, or maybe it was just there. But either way,
to be fair, that was just the one I was giving you to test out.
Yep.
And I think you were like, yeah, it looks good, publish, which is fine because that stuff happens. But typically what I'll do with bots is I think the way to roll them out is you get them out to a small group of people. You have them kind of go through it, test stuff out, get some feedback. I would personally recommend you send screenshots or complete conversations, because you need to, when you're building the bot, you need to see how it was prompted, what the response was, how they reacted to that, what it did after that. So you can kind of see the pattern of how it's thinking. And that's how you adjust the instructions, and that's how you can adjust the knowledge and that sort of stuff. Yep. So these will still go through that process, but this is the early days. Like, we wanted to show you, like, this is what it looks like when we first kind of publish stuff.
Yep.
To get it out there and get that.
And there is functionality on how to do that inside of, for all that stuff. The functionality is there too. So
perfect.
Yep. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to the next one, pricing pilot. So similar, questions and everything like that. Those are all things that we wanted to talk about. Who gets access? We don't need to worry about that now. And then here's the instructions and similar constraints. So your pricing, and I would have had not 25 pages yet, but a lot of pages of instructions on this thing. And so your goal is to provide actionable advice on proposals and pricing strategies.
And this is good because I assume this is something you also did AI for, right? To kind of describe what the bot's going to do. And then you say, hey, give me the instructions to do that.
Yeah. And here's my disclaimer, that type of stuff.
Perfect.
Yep. And then I did this. I built this in Gemini, and then it had really long instructions. And I said, okay, we need to get this we need the same sentiment for under 1,500 characters. How it works, give context, the service, what problem are you solving for the client, industry, agency. We had those questions in there, right? That was in there in the questions. And then I'll provide specific feedback to strengthen your proposal. This includes suggestions for and this is where I would maybe add, whenever possible, drill down to sub services, not just high level. So that's an improvement of what we talked about. Now, this is me writing. I'll probably refine that with AI again to get the outcome, but I just want to do it in the interest of time. So how should we answer this? They only let you use AI generated answers. I chose descriptive because I want them to be like, hey, here's the price. Here's the detail. I want it to be thorough. Same error message. And then this is where it really starts to go crazy in Circle. So I've actually had it learn from 8 different courses in my book and all kinds of stuff. So it's pulling answers from each of these things.
So this operates kind of like Notebook LM does with Google's Notebook LM, where you can say, okay, we already have this community of content that we already have. I need you to go train yourself on that content. Just like Notebook LM, it's like, oh, I need you to only know about this stuff.
Yep.
Which is nice.
Yep. And so you go, and I can choose from any space we have, any course we have, any discussion, product calls, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And we wouldn't want it training on every possible thing, because that's going to be, if you just say you really understand the pricing stuff, it's going to really understand pricing stuff. If
exactly.
It everything, it's too much, and its answers aren't going to be as comprehensive around that, which is great.
Yeah. So any course where I talk about pricing, it goes in there. That's how we're doing it. And then custom, I uploaded all these SOPs we have. So we had a ton of SOPs on pricing. So we have 14 different knowledge documents. I did some deep research, a couple deep research reports on pricing, and just shared a bunch of details. And you see how I could have put a naming convention in there so we know which one it belongs to. And so it's pulling from 100 hours of courses and hundreds of pages.
All these PDFs, that's great.
Of PDFs, checklists, SOPs, anything around pricing. So it's got a lot of knowledge in there. Now, the previous mechanism for delivery was that I would just give people this PDF and say, figure it out. Or, hey, is that 3007 or 3005? It's like, I guess the point is that if you want to go through it in a linear way, then PDFs are fine. But who does that anymore? If you're AI first, you never go through anything in a linear way. You pull all the options in there, and then you start to iterate on it. And this allows you to do that. So we have the whole knowledge in there, and then it will know if your question's about raising prices, it'll just go through this checklist.
Instead of you having to go through that checklist to figure it out on your own, it goes through that checklist on your behalf and says, hey, it's more than likely this or this, which one sort of feels.
Yeah. How do I price my services to make my agency sellable?
Yeah.
And then it will ask you more details about yourself. Then you tell it, and it's like, oh yeah, here's what you got to do. It'll tell you if it's your margins are too low, or if you don't have the right contracts and stuff like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, really cool. And so that's Pricing Pilot. Then Clarity Coach. This is the one that gets, or excuse me, not Clarity Coach. Offer Oracle. This is the one that, it's based on my book, which maybe is a good thing or a bad thing. It's based on service stacking. I'm ultimately I had to narrow the scope so that it wasn't just everything. Could we bring in other stuff on offers and other stuff? Yeah, we did actually. So when we look at this thing, you can see the behavior stuff. That's all. This doesn't really change that much between these. The instructions, this one's is lower instructions. And that is that, always tailor advice to their business type goals, be direct, strategic, offer frameworks, fill in the blank templates where helpful, and then never give generic advice. Always ground your suggestions in the principles. You're proactive, confident, and a trusted strategic advisor. And then our knowledge for this one is we have 7 spaces or 7, combination of courses and posts that are out there in case somebody's talking about this. And then we have 27 resources. So we have all these SOPs about prospecting, about pitching. We also have some deep research, as you can see in here. We have my entire service stacking book. And it looks like that's cool. It says that it's used that in replies 3 different times. So that's cool that it's using it and referencing it. And so that's ultimately, and it's not really using the other stuff, but that's fine.
I like that because I didn't know they realized that they did all that, but I like that they do that because you can see is this knowledge even useful or not does the bot think it's useful? Are they getting, do they even need this level of detail? Because some they might not with something.
Yeah.
Or people just aren't asking questions around that. That's the other thing. Yeah. If they're not, for example, the inbound leads thing, but is anybody asking questions around leads? I would imagine if we did, then it would be addressed, right? It would be the knowledge it would use. That's cool.
And I think that's and maybe there's a few things. It's advertising that they can actually use it that way. Like, hey, did you know you can that this is in there? So it's the suggested questions. We could improve those.
Yep.
There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. The suggested questions. I didn't see I see the value for some of those, but in the beginning, you're right. It's more useful, like you said, to go through this because I didn't realize I could ask it that in that way, which is really good. Good conversation starters. Exactly.
Maybe I would even I would rewrite the instructions or at least the intro based on what it can do and be more clear.
Yeah.
If they're not using it, that means that they don't even know to ask it. And so that's how we built these bots. A few things that I want to talk about is the brain method. So here's the framework we use for every bot that we build. First thing is you need a benefit, which is the end result. Like, what is the benefit of somebody using Offer Oracle? They're going to have clarity in their offers, right? So then, and ultimately you should say the benefit in here. It's your personal offer strategist. Like this should be a benefit statement. Okay. So if you can't say what the benefit is and all that stuff, then it's probably they're not going to see the point of using it. Okay. The research, examples, context, or background knowledge. You saw a lot of that, right? Examples are from the courses. Background knowledge is these knowledge documents, SOPs, the things that we have. So you have 27 different resources, hundreds to thousands of pages of context that I provided there so that it can give you the answer. Sometimes you don't even need it. It looks like more often than not, they're not even tapping into that wealth of knowledge, but it's there when you need it. And so that's what the research is. Architecture, what's the flow and how is it going to operate? So that's ultimately, you can either do a process map showing how these things come together, or you can just in here knowing all the things you're going to have with that platform. Now, all these platforms have very similar functionalities. If you did a custom GPT, you're going to see similar stuff to this. If you did something in a gem, you're going to see similar things. Not everything will be the exact same. Like they might not have suggested questions in there, but there's similar functionality. If you want to, we're going to be doing this in the Battle of the Bots channel, the Battle of the Bots workshop. And so if you haven't seen that yet, or if you haven't joined, make sure that you learn about Battle of the Bots. That's at profitschool.com/bots. You can either join us live if you get this on time, or you can watch the recordings, which will be super useful as well. And so that's that. Instructions, again, the instructions, you have 1,500 characters, which is not words. And that's not that's not very
specific
much.
to Circle, just to be clear. That's,
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
yep.
Specific to your platform is what you're just got to remember that your instructions may or may not be limited by the platform.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I mean, ultimately, if you're doing it for internal use, you might be like Mercer using a gem because it's infinite. And then finally, normalize. This is where you review, test, and refine until outputs are repeatable and shareable. This is, Mercer just mentioned it. You start with yourself, then you start with a beta with a small group of people. You continue to iterate on it. You get feedback. Then you can go into the next small group of people. Then eventually you can make it out there. Then you take it out of beta once you're pretty confident in the results you're getting. Yeah. But ultimately, it's only going to get good if people start using it. And so it has to be at a certain minimum viableness that it's good or that's useful, that people will keep on going back to it. Then you can start to say, yeah, this is ready. We can take this out of beta and have other people use it more and more, make it into a commercial product, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the brain method. And these are just the steps that help you there. Quick things. We have our brain trust, which is the premium bots that we've created at ProfitSchool. It's available to our ProfitSchool Pro members. So if you wanted to tap into all of our stuff, the brain trust would be there. And then the other thing is, that's unsaid here is we built these in Circle. And you might be wondering, okay, well, I don't even use Circle. I don't have online courses. Totally cool. We just wanted to show you how we built these free resources for our community. And it's a good introduction to bots because it's about as simple as it gets. But I used my old chat GPT and I said, can you help me compare options for building bots for people, for how we'd use these things? And this is mostly through my voice dictation, but it assigned the score. And it's saying, and I don't know if I agree with these scores necessarily, but so Gemini, the best use case is it's internal team knowledge access. So it's like sharing internally and your Google Drive. It's on your shared drive. It's easy to use internally. There's very few limitations on it. Mm-hmm. The cons is that it's only using the Gemini model. It's not really that good at writing, from my opinion. And then you have to build your own. So it for a lot of people, it's a non-starter to have to go and install Mercer's gem on my machine. Now, trust me, I've installed Mercer's gems on my machine, and it's amazing, and I'm glad I did it. We do think that they're going to be able to share these things eventually. Like they're going to let you share them out. All going to come across. It's inevitable. We just don't know when. Might even be when this thing goes live. ChatGPT custom GPTs, you can actually share them publicly, which is sort of cool. You can do it for lead gen. You can put it into I could put Offer Oracle out there by ProfitSchool.com on custom GPT, and people might learn about ProfitSchool that way. Mm-hmm. So you can share them. The thing is, once you shared it, you can't unshare it. They don't adhere to my instructions all that well when I did them. And so I'm cautiously optimistic about these. So
if you did that on ChatGPT, you'd really want to make sure you thoroughly test this thing, because once it's out, it's staying out, is what you're saying.
Exactly. Well, you can update it, but once somebody has that link, you'd have to take it offline for everybody. And then I think when you republish it, it'd be there. So if you want this to be a commercial product or you want it to be private to just your clients, it can get out of hand.
That makes sense.
Part of this thing is if you're building a bot and you're updating it all the time, then you don't really want somebody to buy it or to get it from you one-off and then have access forever. You might want to control access. You might want to charge for maintenance and things like that if you want to work it into your business model. Now, I'll use that to say, I think it's a really good thing that nobody's doing right now that could be the change for your business, your agency, if you're a service provider, is you should have these custom GPTs and you should sell them to your clients as a value add or just provide it as a bonus.
Mm-hmm. Which is what we're doing, essentially.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing we're doing.
Yeah. Like, hey, we have a dashboard, but we also have our dashboard bot that you can analyze things, and that's free of charge. That's included. And now they're like, whoa, that's pretty cool. And you're like, yeah, I have this thing, and it's just it just sweetens the deal.
Yeah.
Or you could even charge for it potentially if you build it for them specifically on their stuff. The more involved it is, the more you can, the more.
Well, and so much of this too is moving from, especially for because everyone's going to get AI'd, right? We just need to figure out how to use AI to get our jobs done now. And it has to be done in a different way. You have to sort of rethink even the vehicle you're using. It's like, oh, I used to be able to use a car because I was driving on a road. Well, now all of a sudden you're in the middle of the ocean. Your car's not useful anymore. What are you going to do? And it's like, I got to use a boat, right? We need a bigger boat. And that's kind of what AI is. AI is the bigger boat. So it's like, all right, how can we use AI to get this stuff done, to get this stuff, more integrated in our companies? I just like the idea of going through these. Like, for example, for Gemini, it's like, yeah, it's not good at copywriting because nothing's good at copywriting until you make one that's really good at copywriting.
Yeah.
But you have to think like that. You have to be like, of course it's not good at copywriting. You shouldn't be using it as a general LLM. That's one of the first sins of AI that everybody jumps into. It just starts talking to it because you can.
Yeah.
But when you specialize it first and then talk to it, holy cow. Right?
Yep.
And as an agency, like we are, and we've got education, we've got lots of training. We still have some done for you stuff as well. But the problem is nobody wants training anymore. They want tools. And that's what the AI thing is. It's like, hey, now we can discuss the strategy of how the AI works and what it's thinking and how it's doing stuff. So you understand its brain, but you don't have to go through the hard work of analyzing a dashboard anymore. The AI can do it, but you understand how it's doing it. So you know if it's good or not. That's kind of the idea. So I can definitely see that being a consistent thing with more and more bots every day coming out. And there's more and more platforms that can share them. MindPal's got a whole thing. On bots, right? That they can, and you can share and publish and I think charge back there too. So there's some really cool platforms coming out.
Yeah, it's interesting. A few thoughts on that is like the commercialization of this. One is that every business now says they have AI. If you don't have AI on your business, like, even if it's a light use case of AI, you have to say that. So it's like with AI, now everybody has an AI mode. Slack just introduced it. Canva has the AI. Everybody has AI, like AI Grammarly, which I use, is like, it's an AI editor, that type of stuff. And whether the extent of AI is all relative, but you have to say that now because it's there. So that's table stakes.
It's an expectation now.
Yeah. And then about bots specifically, 43% of the companies in Y Combinator are now things that say that they're AI agents. So AI agent for this, AI agent for insurance, for customer service, for this and that. Like, the people that are getting funded now are building these things out. Now you might be like, oh, I have an agency. I'm not trying to be a startup. Ultimately, whatever you can do to make yourself more efficient, to create something of value. It's never been easier to do that and to get distribution. The distribution is infinite. Like, you can just latch it on to ChatGPT and get it out there. Like we've been talking about, you can do all these things. So it just makes so much sense to consider that. Like, most companies that are getting funded are even just AI agents. And if you can be anything like that, if you can be agentic in any way with your services, one, you don't have to hire as many people because the agents are working for you. So it reduces your cost. And two, it makes it more proprietary. And that's where the money trail is.
Yeah. And just to be clear, just to not confuse things. So we have bots, right? And then you've got agents, which are like bots stringed together kind of thing. And that's more on the automation side of the agent stuff. We're just talking about bots right now for this thing, which is the individual things that you can interact with, but aren't necessarily going out and connecting to other stuff all the time. So
and bots, they're basically a building block for being able to create agents. And so, you're listening to this video, you're watching this podcast right now. We are talking about bots. In 3 months, we'll be showing you the agents that connect to these exact bots we showed you. We're going to show you that progression and how it works, because that's the next step. Now, we don't want to overwhelm. We're just, we're learning this as we go along as well. So we want to make sure that you're aware of this, but also know that the future is turning these methods, the bots, into agents and having them work autonomously. That is the future of everything. And that's where the money's going. So, Circle native agents, this isn't for everybody, but as you can see, we already mentioned it. It's nice because it's built in. Problem is that there's only 10 of them and you can't have a lot of instructions for there. Poe, this is probably where we're going to be building our external facing bots because we have more access control. We can revoke access. We can update them. We can choose what model we use. So I mentioned Gemini is not as good at copywriting. Although, by the way, we actually have a whole set of instructions for how to make AI not sound like AI. And that'll almost immediately improve that, right? So we're building that into our bots, like anything we're doing. ChatGPT, Claude. So you can choose which model of it too, like which version of the model, all kinds of stuff. And then there's even media stuff that I want to play with. You can have it generate images and videos right within Poe. So that's pretty cool. The problem is that once I put them out to somebody, they have to have a Poe account, which does cost them money and it does add friction. So it's like, it's like $20 a month or something like that in order to access bots built on Poe, but it can do so much. So that's the double edge of that sword. I've been talking to one of our team members about using Supabase and N8N to do this thing. She's like, yeah, once you get the Poe ones going, if it's really good and it gets usage, we can totally move it to Supabase and N8N and just have it like, we own everything. We own everything on that, right? Pickaxe is one I was looking at. Cognisys is one that AI told me about that I didn't even know about. And so, and they're giving ratings to it. and they're trying to help us understand, right? So so that these are the things that are out there, which is sort of cool, just to see what options we have, right? So that's where the research comes in.
And there's probably 45 more that came out in this last
exactly
hour. This is just always,
this
is just the thing. You just jump in the water. There's no like, I'm just going to wait for things to calm down. Never going to calm down. Jump in the water. That's how you do it.
Exactly. And as far as, to wrap this up, as far as you doing this for yourself, I would probably start in this order or close to it, except for the circle one. You're probably not going to have circle in there, but I'd go gems and then maybe custom GPT if you want it to be out there publicly. Then I would go PO if you want to sell them or make them available to clients or have access control. And then these other ones, I would worry about it a lot later in your time, like once you get more sophisticated.
Yeah, you kind of grow in the complexity. That makes sense.
Yeah. And so that's what I wanted to share. We had, just to wrap up, as far as the community goes, these are available in the community. When you sign up and you log in, you just go to free AI coaching bots and you will see these, click on them, interact with them. They'll be updated constantly. We are paying attention. We're trying to constantly improve them.
Yep. And let us know. You can just DM us in Profit School and just say, hey, I was using it. Here's kind of what I think. Here's some stuff I'd like to see. Or if there's another suggestion you have, let us know. That's
and if this
podcast, help you be successful with this stuff.
Yeah. And if this drives you to Profit School, let us know too, because this is the whole point of changing this to a video podcast. We've been doing a few of these now, but it's really just to sort of build in public, show what we're working on and see if this resonates with people. Cause we do think this is what the market needs and wants, but there's not a lot of good content about this middle layer. It's a lot of beginner stuff and a lot of like super advanced stuff. We want to be right in the middle with how you use it for a service business.
Just seeing the real world of like how it's put together is awesome. In fact, we should drop that in Profit School so everybody can see it there too. That'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that wraps up this episode of the Profit School podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you like this, leave a comment. If you're using the community, if you want to get in these bots, just go to profitschool.com/community and sign up. And we can't wait to see you on the next episode. Thanks, Mercer.
See you there. Thanks, Jeff.